Hey guys, this is Eric with Painting Business Pro, and in this video, we're gonna talk about how to start a painting business in 2024. This is a video I've done pretty much every year for the last decade, and over the last decade, I've helped literally thousands of people start a painting business. In this video, we're gonna go through why you would start a painting business. Should you? Let's evaluate the opportunity of starting a painting business. We're gonna look at the logistics of how do you actually set up and be ready to be in business. We're gonna talk about how do you get your first job, how do you get your first 100 jobs, and how do you scale this business for the next 3 to 4 years, because that's kind of what we do here at Painting Business Pro. If you don't know who I am, I'm Eric Barstow. I started Painting Business Pro about a decade ago, where I've been helping people start and build painting companies. I also started my own painting company in 2010. I started it with $200 in startup capital. I made $4,000 in profit in my first month working part-time. And since then, I've built that business. And now across our multiple painting companies, we do over $17 million a year and growing. All right, so enough about me, let's jump into the video. So why should you start a painting business? I started a painting business back in 2010 because I didn't want to get a real job. I just wanted to control my time and I would make good money so I could do what I wanted to do. And over the last decade, that's worked out pretty well for me. And I know it's worked out pretty well for a whole lot of people that we've coached over the years. So the opportunity in the painting industry is absolutely huge. So we're gonna go into the 6 main reasons that I think there's a big opportunity in the painting industry specifically. All right, so the first one is the size of the market. I think it's hard to understand the real size of this market. If you just look around where you live, every single building, every single house that you see needs to be painted inside and out over and over and over and over and over. All right, so it's a recurring market and it's growing every year because you just look at all the new houses and all the new buildings being built are just adding to the size of the market. The most recent number I saw was over $30 billion in annual paint sales. That's product sales. And just simple math says that the painting services industry with the actual coatings and applications is over $100 billion a year in annual revenue for painting applications and coating services. The size of the industry is absolutely enormous. In Colorado, from Fort Collins to Colorado Springs, the corridor of like an hour and a half is roughly $2 billion a year in painting services alone. And you need just a tiny little sliver of that market to create a business that gives you a great income and gives you control over your time and schedule. So it's a huge and growing industry. All right, number 2, there's a low startup cost in this industry. If you just Google this right now, the average business costs $30,000 to $40,000 to start up in the United States. The average construction business costs about $37,000 to start. I started my painting business with $200. You could still do that today, the exact same way I did it then. But you would be hard pressed to spend more than $5,000 to $10,000 starting this business if you were doing it the right way. So that's a huge benefit to starting the business, is the low barrier to entry. So if you have no money, you can still get into this business. And if you have money, you can set more of it aside into a little nest egg that you can live on as you're building up the profit in your business, which, by the way, it can become very profitable very quickly. All right, so the third reason that the painting business has a great opportunity is the competition. All right, so there's a lot of competitors in this industry. There's a ton of painting contractors out there, but the competition is not very strong. So there's a lot of people out there who are still not showing up on time. They don't do what they say they're gonna do. They aren't tech savvy. They don't have professional contracts. They don't have professional sales systems. They don't have professional marketing systems. They're not very good at managing and working with people. There's so many really easy ways to be better than the competition that's out there. And all you need to be able to do is to get in business is I've just got to be better than who's already out there right now. That still is pretty easy to do. I don't think it's going to be that way forever, but as of right now, it's still pretty easy to be a lot better than a lot of the competition that's out there right now. All right, which brings me to number 4, is this business is pretty recession proof. There was a study done by Harvard back in the 2008-2009 recession to see the impact on different industries of an economic recession. What they found is that the home services and home improvement industry was in decline by about 17%. But when they took a closer look at the home improvement industry, they saw that the higher ticket items like kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, basement remodels, or finishing basements, this really expensive stuff, was down a lot more than the lower ticket stuff like painting. So in a normal market, people don't want to drop $5,000 or $6,000 to paint their house because they might sell it in a couple years. But in a down economy, I now realize, hey, I'm not going to be upgrading or moving homes, which means I can't kick the can down the road. And so now I'm going to paint because I'm living in this house a lot longer. So we don't see a huge impact on the painting industry. It might be a little bit down, but it's pretty easy to offset with healthy business growth. The fifth reason I like the painting business is because it's more AI proof than other industries. So if you haven't been following, AI is coming, it's gonna happen, it's going to be disruptive, it's gonna change industries, but fortunately I think we're in an industry that's pretty insulated from significant disruption from AI. Now, AI is definitely going to make a huge impact in every industry, I believe. It's gonna make a big impact on our business, on the way we do business, on systems and procedures, but fundamentally, it's not wiping out our industry or changing it in any significant ways. It's just gonna add more tools and productivity to the way that we already do business, which I think is a huge advantage because the real reason you're getting in business is to build a business, which means you're not gonna do it this year, you're gonna do it over 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And if you're gonna be doing something for 5 years, you wanna make sure it's got 5 years of legs to it, which I think the industry definitely has. Which brings me to number 6, which is the painting industry is not going anywhere. All right, it's not being substantially disrupted. It's not gonna get massively impacted by an economic recession or downturn. All of these buildings need to be painted and protected and maintained, and they gotta do it over and over and over. So it's not going anywhere, and it's only growing because there's more buildings being built and more houses being built all the time. So this industry's been around for many, many decades and years, and it's gonna continue to be for a long time, which is advantageous to you. All right, so once you've decided you want to start a painting business, then you got to do all the logistical stuff to actually get your business set up. So you need to pick a name, you need to register your business with the state, you've got to get a federal EIN number, set up a bank account, you've got to get insurance, maybe workers' comp, you need to get a logo, a website, maybe some basic marketing and sales materials so that you're like, hey, I'm actually like in business and I'm ready to do business and transact. So we're not gonna spend a lot of time on that in this video because I've already put together a really good resource for you. So below this video, there's gonna be a link in the description where you can go and download a startup guide. It's basically got our whole startup checklist. It's gonna walk you through everything I just listed, the links to do it, how to do it. There's even some how-to videos in there. I remember when I started my first company ever, I was just a little confused. I wasn't sure what I needed to do. And once I had done anything, I wasn't sure if that's all I needed to do or if I was still missing things. So it's just a little confusing for me starting up my first business. So to take any of that uncertainty out of the equation for you, that's why we put together a startup checklist. So just click the link below, head over there, and you can download that 29-page guide. It's really good, really detailed, and that'll walk you through everything you need to do to be up and in business, ready to go. All right, so now you're in business and we wanna talk about how do you get your first job. So to get into this, I wanna share with you how I got my first jobs. So I started my painting business with $200 down. I made $4,000 in the first month, and I'll show you exactly how I did that. I printed out these tiny little flyers and I got my friend Faith, and Faith and I went and knocked on doors for about 3 hours. We knocked on every door in the neighborhood and we went knock, knock, knock. They opened the door and I'd say, hey, how's it going? I'm Eric, I'm with Foothills Painting. I noticed you had some peeling paint up here, so I just wanna put you down for a free estimate. And during those 3 hours, Faith and I had 11 people say, yeah, I'll take a free estimate. So that's how we got our first estimates. And then I called those people and I ended up setting up 6 of them for an actual appointment. Then I went out to do those 6 estimates. I met with the people, I got to know them, I built some rapport with them, I took a look at what they wanted done, I told them what I'd recommend, I quoted up some numbers for them, and I presented a proposal. Of those 6 people, 5 of them said, yep, you're hired. Of those 5 jobs, 2 of them were full houses. One of them was a touch-up job for windows, another was a touch-up job for windows, and another was a touch-up on one side of the house. So these touch-up jobs, I said, these are pretty easy. I don't really need much equipment to do these. I'll do those myself. Each of those touch-up jobs took me a day to do. And then the 2 full houses, I hired a painting subcontractor, a professional painter who's got their own insurance, their own equipment, they've got a ton of experience, and I paid them to go do those projects for me. And that's how I got my first $8,000 in revenue done, made $4,000 in profit, and it was all done in the first 30 days. All right, so that's how I got my leads, sold those first jobs, and produced those first jobs. So now let's talk about the different ways that you can market, sell, and produce. As a brand new business, there's a lot of different ways that you can market and get potential customers. I'll just list a few of them off. So one thing you can do is go door to door. That's what I did. Super easy, works, guaranteed way to get business. It's free. You could also order lawn signs and flyers and start putting lawn signs around target communities and dropping flyers in neighborhoods. You could also use something called lead services like Angie or CraftJack or Thumbtack. These are companies that play connector with homeowners and painting contractors. You could also utilize paying for Google local service ads, which is basically advertising on Google. You could also start running Facebook ads. And of course, you can network, right? There's local networking groups you can join, and you also have your own network within the community. And the hardest jobs to get are your first jobs, but once you start getting jobs, you just keep doing this stuff over and over and grow it and scale it. And everything I just listed there is pretty much everything that my companies do to this day to generate $17 million a year in business. So you can start using those depending on how much money do you have to invest in marketing. If you have a lot of money, then you can do the stuff that costs money. If you have no money, then you can do the stuff that costs hustle and time. And that's what I did with going door to door. Once you have potential customers, then it's about turning those customers into paying customers. And I have a whole bunch of videos on our YouTube channel about sales. So that's what I would recommend you check out. We're not gonna go into a lot of detail on sales here, but just know that there's a lot of really easy things you can do to differentiate yourself from the competition. One of the benefits to the painting business is that there's not a lot of trust. So in some ways, it's advantageous to be a new business because you're not already a painting contractor, you're someone new, and you can kind of say, hey, look, I know this industry doesn't really have a lot of trust, and a lot of people don't do things they say they're gonna do, don't show up on time, there's a lack of professionalism. That's kind of why I started this business. I wanna change that. Here's the horror stories I've heard before. I don't want that to be you, so that's why I'm here. And in some ways that'll actually work to your advantage being a new business in this industry. Now, finally, when we get to how do you get your first jobs done, there's basically two ways to do it. If you've got painting experience or it's a really simple job, you can go out there and do it yourself. I wouldn't recommend doing that for long. Those were the first 3 jobs I did and the last 3 jobs I did. Ultimately, what you're gonna wanna do is utilize subcontractors at the beginning rather than employees. So these are the 2 ways that you can get your jobs done in this business. If you use employees, you need to equip them. So you're gonna need to buy a bunch of equipment. And the most important thing is that you need to keep them busy with work. And that can put a lot of pressure on you as a brand new business owner that doesn't have consistency with work yet. And so you do all this stuff with hiring and equipping people, but if you don't keep them busy, you're gonna lose them and then you have to rehire them. Subcontractors will do 1 contract at a time. These are guys who already have a registered business, have their own insurance, have their own equipment, have their own guys, they've got experience, and you would interview them and screen them just like you would if you were hiring employees. So it's not like we're just hiring the cheapest person off the corner to do this. We're screening them and hiring them and make sure the people that we're putting on our jobs we like. And the agreement we make with the subcontractor is I'll pay you when the client is satisfied and the job is done. So if you're walking the project and it doesn't look good, the job's not done and they're not getting paid. And if the customer's not happy, the job's not done and they're not getting paid. So they get paid when you get paid, which aligns incentives and makes it pretty simple. I would also recommend if you're just starting a business to keep your first jobs simple. Don't go doing really complex, crazy jobs at the beginning. Do stuff that's simple so that you minimize the risk of things going wrong or going sideways. All right, so now we want to talk about, now that you've got your first job, now I would just say that you're just in business now. You're just like every other painting contractor out there. Once you get your first job done, it's like, okay, I've gotten leads, I've gotten estimates, I've made sales, I've produced these jobs and made profit. Now the game is just do it again. Do it again once a week, and then do it again twice a week, and then do it again 3 times a week, and then do it again 4 times a week. So now we just want to repeat the process we just followed to get our first job, but do it again and again and again. And over time, we're gonna start getting better at each of these things. We're gonna get better at generating the leads. We're gonna get better at turning those leads into sales. We're gonna get better at producing those jobs out and finding better people to work with. All right, so I wanna pause now and I just wanna transition a little bit more into like, now, how are you gonna actually build this business? Because most of you aren't watching this video because you just wanna know how to start the business. Hey, how do I register a company? You're like, how do I actually start a business and build it? So I teach this business to people in 2 phases. There's phase 1 and then phase 2 of building your business. And the goal of the business is to build a business that has a team that runs the day-to-day so that you don't have to. Because the real goal of starting a business is to create freedom, which includes financial freedom. If I've got all the freedom of my time in the world, but I have no money, I'm just unemployed, right? So we wanna have financial freedom and freedom of our time, which means we need to have a team that runs the day-to-day, and the business needs to be big enough so that after I pay my team, I still have good, healthy profit left over. So that's the goal, and we do phase 1 and phase 2 to get to that goal. So phase 1 is where you're still building the business yourself. You're generating all the leads and doing the marketing, you're doing the estimates, and you're managing the projects. And you can build a really good business doing that, that's doing $500,000 to $600,000 a year and making $150,000 a year and working 40 hours a week or less. So let me break down what numbers we have as kind of the goal or benchmarks for phase 1. So in phase 1, you should be able to do 7 or 8 estimates a week. You should be able to book about 3 jobs a week with an average job size of about $5,000. So that's $15,000 a week. And then you produce that $50,000 a week and your margin should be about 50%, meaning the cost of labor and materials is 50%. So those are the kind of the benchmarks we want to hit in phase 1 so that you're doing $15,000 a week, bringing in about $7,500 a week in gross profit minus marketing, and then minus any other overhead. So you should be able to make about $4,000 per week in profit working full time, hitting all of those numbers, which is not a bad business because this is also not a year-round business. It's seasonal to some degree. So we might only do those numbers 40 weeks out of the year, and that's how we come up with a $600,000 business where we're making $150,000 to $200,000 per year. But at some point around those benchmarks, you can't really grow your business much more doing it all yourself. So now we transition into phase 2 where we need to build our team. And we always start by hiring a project manager who's gonna take over handling all the projects, meeting with our crews, meeting with our customers, doing all the scheduling, making sure we're delivering on our promises. Once that's off your plate, you can start doing more sales. And then we hire an estimator to take all the sales off your plate. Once the sales is taken off your plate, now you've got a lot more free time to make sure you're focused on marketing and growing the business that way. And from there, you might hire an office manager, another sales rep, or another project manager, depending on how big you're trying to grow the business. But our ultimate goal of phase 2 is to have a project manager who oversees projects, an estimator who's doing all the estimates, and an office manager who's handling all the admin, so that you're not involved anymore in the day-to-day operations of the business, and the business is doing over $1 million a year, making $200,000 a year or more in profit. All right, so I want to wrap up this video by just kind of an overview of the whole thing. So basically we talked about why you should start a painting business. There's a lot of great opportunities that make this like a really good business to start. Then we went through the logistics. We've got a checklist below the video for that. Then we went through how you get your first job. There's a number of ways to market the business, to get that first client, to produce that first job and start making profit. Then we just start doing that over and over as many times as we can. That's called phase 1, where you're doing the marketing, the sales, and the project management. In phase 1, you can make $2,000 to $5,000 a week in profit working full-time or less. So it can be a really great business, but at some point you can't grow it doing it all yourself, and you don't really have freedom of your time if you're doing it all yourself. So we got to transition into phase 2 where we start building out the team. And you can start to build out your team to grow this into a $1 or $2 or $3 million business that's got 3 to 5 team members who's running all the day-to-day, where you can be making $300,000 to $500,000 a year working 20 hours or less per week. And for me, that's the real reason that you start and build a business, period, is to build it to the point where you can put a team in place so that you're making great money and you have time. And that's like exactly what we do at Painting Business Pro. We exist to help painting contractors create freedom, discover what's possible, and build a company people love to get you that kind of lifestyle and that kind of business. So if you don't want to do all this on your own, there's a number of different resources I want to point you to. The first one is just our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of amazing videos that'll help you get started covering everything that we've covered in this video. So there's a lot of really good stuff there. If you head over to our website, there's some free resources you can get, like the startup guide. We've got estimating guides. We've got a number of other free resources on our website. And then if you're really serious about like, I want high-level coaching, I want proven systems, I want to be handheld, I want you to show me every single step of the way, exactly the best way to do it. We've got full-blown training programs that can help you do that, and they're application only, and we've got limited spots in them, but we're running those every month with new kickoff groups. So that's all we've got for this video. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Let me know how we can help. We're here to help, and we wish you the best in 2024 building your business.